Hello and welcome to the Brain Booster channel. Today's episode is all about the beautiful and fascinating country of Zimbabwe. In this podcast, we will be delving into the history, culture, politics, and economy of this southern African nation. We will be exploring the country's rich past and its impact on the present, as well as discussing the current political climate and economic situation. We will also be taking a look at the tourism industry and the unique cultural offerings of Zimbabwe. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive understanding of this diverse and complex country, and we invite you to join us on this journey. We hope you'll stay with us until the end of the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on future episodes. So without further ado, let's dive into the rich culture and history of Zimbabwe. When discussing the history of Zimbabwe, it's important to begin with a look at the pre-colonial period. The region that is now known as Zimbabwe was inhabited by a number of different ethnic groups, including the Shona and Ndebele people. These groups had their own distinct cultures, languages, and political systems. They also had a rich tradition of art, music, and craftsmanship, particularly in metalworking. However, the arrival of European explorers in the late 19th century brought significant changes to the region. The British South Africa Company, led by Cecil Rhodes, established a colony in the area and began a process of colonization that would have a profound impact on the people and culture of Zimbabwe. The British government took over the administration of the colony in 1923 and named it Southern Rhodesia. The colonization brought political, social, and economic changes, which affected the native population. They were forced to work in mines and farms, and they were not allowed to own land. The British implemented a system of racial segregation, which further marginalized the indigenous population and restricted their economic and political opportunities. This period of colonization would shape the future of Zimbabwe and set the stage for the country's eventual struggle for independence. As the years went on, the desire for independence and self-rule grew among the indigenous population. This desire was met with resistance from the British colonial government, leading to a series of uprisings and conflicts. One of the most significant of these was the Kimurenga War, also known as the Second Matabele War, which took place from 1896 to 1897. This war was fought between the Ndebele people and the British South Africa Company, and resulted in the defeat of the Ndebele and the further consolidation of British control over the region. In the mid-20th century, the push for independence intensified, with political parties such as the Zimbabwe African National Union (ZANU) and the Zimbabwe African People's Union (ZAPU) emerging to lead the struggle. These parties advocated for a united, independent Zimbabwe, free from colonial rule. After years of tension and conflict, the British government agreed to hold a referendum on independence in 1979, which resulted in a majority vote in favor of independence. On April 18, 1980, Zimbabwe officially declared its independence, and Robert Mugabe, the leader of ZANU, became the country's first prime minister. This marked the end of the colonial era and the beginning of a new chapter in the country's history as an independent nation. After the Declaration of Independence in 1980, Robert Mugabe's government focused on addressing the inequalities and injustices that were inherited from the colonial period. Mugabe's government implemented policies such as land reform, which aimed to redistribute land from white commercial farmers to black Zimbabweans. This policy was met with resistance from some white farmers, but it was seen as a necessary step towards addressing the historical injustices of the colonial era. Mugabe's government also focused on improving education and healthcare, as well as promoting economic development. However, over time, Mugabe's leadership style became increasingly authoritarian, and he faced criticism for human rights abuses and for using state resources for personal gain. In the later years of his rule, the country's economy suffered due to hyperinflation, food shortages, and a lack of foreign investment. In spite of the challenges faced by Mugabe's government, his role in leading Zimbabwe to independence and his early efforts to address historical injustices cannot be denied. Mugabe's legacy is a complex one, with both positive and negative aspects, and it continues to be debated to this day. It is worth mentioning that Mugabe's rule ended in 2017 by a military coup, and his successor Emmerson Mnangagwa has taken the helm of the country and has been working on stabilizing the economy and fostering international relations. Zimbabwe's history has had a significant impact on the country's present and future. The legacy of colonialism and the struggle for independence continue to shape the country's political and economic landscape. The policies implemented during Mugabe's government, such as land reform, have had a lasting impact on the country's agricultural sector and have contributed to the current economic challenges. Additionally, the human rights abuses and authoritarian leadership style of Mugabe's government have damaged the country's reputation and have made it more difficult to attract foreign investment. However, it's important to note that the country is also making efforts to move forward and improve its situation. The current government has been working on economic reforms and has been trying to improve the country's relations with other nations. In terms of its future, Zimbabwe has the potential to become a strong economic and political player in the region. The country has a diverse population, rich culture, and abundant natural resources. With the right leadership and policies, it could become a major tourist destination and a source of stability and prosperity for the region. In conclusion, Zimbabwe's history has been shaped by complex events, and the country continues to face challenges, but it also has a rich cultural heritage and potential for growth. As we continue to explore the different aspects of the country, it's important to keep in mind the impact of its past on its present and future. The country has a presidential system of government, with the president as the head of state and government. The current president is Emmerson Mnangagwa, who has been in office since 2017. The main political parties in Zimbabwe are the ruling party, ZANU-PF, and the opposition party, the Movement for Democratic Change, MDC. In terms of the country's relationship with other countries and regional organizations, Zimbabwe has been trying to improve its relations with the international community, particularly with the West. The country has been working to pay off its debt and attract foreign investment. The country is also a member of the African Union, the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and the United Nations. Key issues facing the country's political situation include a struggling economy, high unemployment, and political polarization. The country is also facing challenges such as human rights abuses and lack of press freedom. As for the country's political future, it is difficult to predict with certainty. The government has been working on economic reforms and improving relations with other countries, but it remains to be seen how effective these efforts will be in addressing the country's challenges. The upcoming elections in 2023 will be a crucial test for the country's political stability and democratic process. It will also be an opportunity for the people of Zimbabwe to decide the direction they want their country to take. When discussing the economic situation in Zimbabwe, it's important to begin by discussing the main industries in the country. The two main industries in Zimbabwe are agriculture and mining. Agriculture is the backbone of the country's economy, and it employs around 60% of the population. The main crops grown in Zimbabwe include maize, tobacco, and cotton. Additionally, the country has a significant livestock sector, with cattle and small livestock such as goats and sheep being important sources of income. Mining is another important industry in Zimbabwe. The country has a wide variety of minerals, including gold, diamonds, platinum, and nickel. The mining sector has historically been a significant contributor to the country's economy, providing jobs and foreign exchange. However, the sector has been facing challenges in recent years due to a lack of investment, regulatory challenges, and a shortage of foreign currency. Both agriculture and mining have been affected by the economic challenges that the country is facing, such as high inflation and a shortage of foreign currency. The government has been working to address these challenges by implementing economic reforms and attracting foreign investment, but the process of recovery will take time and effort. When analyzing the economic challenges facing Zimbabwe, it's important to note that high unemployment, inflation, and a struggling currency are among the major issues. The unemployment rate in the country is high, with estimates suggesting that it is over 80%. This high unemployment rate is a significant contributor to poverty and inequality in the country. Inflation is also a major concern, with prices for goods and services rising rapidly. This has made it difficult for many people to afford basic necessities, and it has also made it more difficult for businesses to operate. The country has been facing a shortage of foreign currency, which has made it difficult to import goods and has led to a shortage of essential items. In an effort to address these challenges, the government has been implementing economic reforms and trying to attract foreign investment. The government has implemented a number of monetary and fiscal policies to try and stabilize the economy, such as devaluing the currency and introducing a multi-currency system. The government has also been working to improve the business environment by simplifying regulations and encouraging foreign investment. However, these efforts have not been sufficient to revive the economy, and the country still faces many challenges such as low productivity and lack of infrastructure. The government has also been criticized for its lack of transparency and lack of a clear economic plan. The international community and the private sector have been calling for more concrete measures to revive the economy, to reduce poverty and promote sustainable development. The current economic situation in Zimbabwe is challenging, with high unemployment, inflation, and a struggling currency being major issues. Looking to the future, the country has potential for growth, but it will require effective policies, a stable political environment, and a strong commitment to transparency and good governance. The government will need to address the structural issues that are hindering the economy, such as low productivity, lack of infrastructure, and lack of a clear economic plan. The private sector also has a crucial role to play in the country's economic recovery. International organizations, including the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, have also been supporting the country's economic reform efforts. The country has also been increasing its efforts to attract foreign investments and promoting exports, which could be a source of growth in the future. However, it is important to keep in mind that the economic situation is dynamic, and the predictions for the future are uncertain. The country will need to continue working hard to address its economic challenges and to create a better future for its citizens. After discussing the economic challenges facing Zimbabwe, we will now turn our attention to the country's tourism industry and its potential as a tourist destination. With its diverse landscapes, rich culture, and unique wildlife, Zimbabwe has the potential to attract a wide range of visitors. The country is home to a number of national parks and game reserves, such as the Wang National Park, which is known for its large elephant population, and the Victoria Falls, one of the world's most spectacular natural wonders. The falls are located on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe and are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The falls are a popular tourist attraction, and they offer a wide range of activities, such as whitewater rafting, bungee jumping, and helicopter rides. The country also has a rich cultural heritage, with a number of ancient ruins and historical sites, such as the Great Zimbabwe Monuments, which are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the Kami Ruins, which are the remains of a medieval capital city. Additionally, the country has a vibrant arts and music scene, with traditional music and dance performances, and a number of art galleries and craft markets. Despite the potential of the tourism industry, it has been facing challenges in recent years due to the economic crisis, political instability, and the outbreak of diseases such as cholera and COVID-19 pandemic. These challenges have led to a decrease in the number of tourists visiting the country and a decrease in revenue from tourism. The government has been making efforts to attract tourists by promoting the country's natural and cultural heritage, improving the tourism infrastructure, and providing incentives for foreign investors. However, the recovery of the tourism industry will depend on the country's ability to address its economic and political challenges, and to improve the perception of safety and stability among potential visitors. Additionally, it is important to ensure that tourism development is sustainable, and that it benefits the local communities and preserves the environment. Overall, while the tourism industry in Zimbabwe has faced challenges in recent years, the country has the potential to be a popular tourist destination. With its unique natural and cultural attractions, and efforts to improve the tourism infrastructure, the country could attract a wide range of visitors in the future. However, it is important for the country to continue working on addressing the challenges, and to ensure that the tourism development is sustainable and inclusive. When discussing the rich culture of Zimbabwe, it's important to highlight the country's traditional music, art, and cuisine. Zimbabwe has a diverse and vibrant music scene, with a variety of traditional instruments and styles. The bira, a traditional thumb piano, is particularly significant, and it is often used in traditional music and ceremonies. The country also has a strong tradition of singing and dancing, and these are often featured in traditional music performances. Additionally, the country has a number of contemporary music genres, such as Zim dancehall and sangura, which have gained popularity both locally and internationally. In terms of art, Zimbabwe has a rich tradition of sculpture, pottery, and metalwork. The country is particularly known for its Shona sculpture, which is made from a variety of materials, including stone, metal, and wood. Shona sculpture is characterized by its abstract and symbolic forms and is considered one of the most important art forms in the country. In addition, there are a number of contemporary artists working in various media, such as painting, printmaking, and photography. Lastly, when it comes to cuisine, Zimbabwe has a diverse and delicious food culture. The country's staple food is sadza, a thick porridge made from cornmeal, which is often served with a variety of relishes and stews. Additionally, the country has a strong tradition of barbecue, known as braai or nyama choma, which is a popular way of cooking and enjoying meats such as chicken, beef, and wild game. The country also has a variety of traditional drinks, such as beer made from sorghum and maize, and traditional non-alcoholic drinks such as muguka made from wild herbs. Zimbabwe's culture is rich and diverse, with traditional music, art, and cuisine that reflect the country's history and heritage. These cultural elements continue to be an important part of the country's identity, and they are also a source of pride and inspiration for the Zimbabweans. One of the most significant cultural sites and landmarks in the country is the Great Zimbabwe Monuments. These ruins are the remains of an ancient city that was the capital of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, which existed between the 11th and 15th centuries. The site includes a number of impressive stone structures, such as the Great Enclosure, which is a massive stone wall that is over 900 feet long, and the Hill Complex, which includes a number of smaller ruins. The Great Zimbabwe Monuments are a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and they are considered one of the most important archaeological sites in Africa. Another important cultural site is the Kami Ruins. These ruins are the remains of a medieval capital city that was the center of the Kingdom of Butua. The site includes a number of stone structures, such as the Great House, which was the palace of the king, and the Kufudza Dam, which was used to store water. The Kami ruins are also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and they are an important testimony to the cultural and political developments of the region. The Matopos Hills, also known as Matopos National Park, is another important site which is located in the Matabeleland South Province of Zimbabwe. It is known for its unique rock formations and for its cultural and spiritual significance to the local people. The hills are rich in history, including the graves of Cecil Rhodes, who was a British colonizer and mining magnate, and the Matopos Hills also have many rock paintings and engravings that date back to the Stone Age. In addition to these cultural sites, there are many other landmarks and places of interest in the country, such as the Victoria Falls, the Wang National Park, and the Kariba Dam, which is a massive hydroelectric dam on the Zambezi River. All of these places are unique and significant in their own ways, and they offer visitors a glimpse into the country's rich history and heritage. One important aspect of preserving the country's cultural heritage is the protection of its archaeological and historical sites. The government has been working to preserve and protect the country's cultural heritage through legislation and policies, such as the Antiquities Act and the National Museums and Monuments Act. These laws provide for the protection and preservation of cultural heritage sites and artifacts, and they also establish penalties for those who damage or loot these sites. Another important aspect is the promotion of the country's traditional music, art, and cuisine. The government has been working to promote the country's traditional culture through various initiatives, such as the Zimbabwe International Book Fair, which features a wide range of books, music and art from across the country, and the annual Harare International Festival of the Arts, which showcases traditional and contemporary music, dance, and theater. Additionally, there are a number of non-governmental organizations and community-based initiatives that have been working to promote and preserve the country's cultural heritage. These organizations are working to raise awareness of the importance of cultural heritage and to promote the preservation and promotion of traditional music, art, and cuisine. Zimbabwe has a rich and diverse culture, with traditional music, art, and cuisine that reflect the country's history and heritage. The preservation and promotion of this cultural heritage is an important aspect of the country's history and identity. From the Great Zimbabwe Monuments, to the Matopos Hills, and the Victoria Falls, the country has a lot to offer for those interested in experiencing the culture for themselves. In conclusion, we would like to thank you for tuning into this podcast about Zimbabwe. We hope that you found the information provided to be informative and insightful. We have covered a range of topics about the country's history, culture, politics, and economy, and have highlighted some of the key sites and landmarks that are worth visiting. We encourage you to learn more about Zimbabwe and to experience its culture for yourself. The country has a lot to offer and it is an interesting destination to visit. Remember that if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our channel so you don't miss any of our future interesting releases. We will continue to bring you in-depth information on various countries, cultures, and topics. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to having you back for our next episode.